Hey guys, I'm Patrick, and I know what you're thinking. This adorable ginkgo tree is going to do so well here. And you're right. Welcome back to Plant Something Sunday, where this Sunday I am planting a ginkgo tree. And it is officially autumn, which I am clearly ready for. And as many of you know the saying, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is right now. We're going to keep up with planting throughout the autumn. It's a great time to plant because there is less stress and demand on the plant to compete with evaporation and moisture control with the heat of the sun, but it's also the time of year where things are powering down. So there's a little bit of a balancing act on establishing something into the ground, making sure it is well protected and it has enough moisture going into its hibernation mode, considering that it didn't have a month's prior head start into establishing that, despite the competition with the heat. These are one of those plants that I absolutely nerd out about. They are a very old variety of tree, and they have these beautiful, very interesting shaped leaves. I think some places sort of call them or give them a common name of fossil trees. I love them. They have a variety of growth patterns based on actually where they're located, and then there's also a male and a female version of this plant. So a lot of neighborhoods that have been lined with these trees down the sidewalks and have planted a lot of male plants, so females aren't getting fertilized and putting down seeds and trees popping up everywhere, actually see a population around them with higher problems with reactions to pollen, and that's simply because a lot of neighborhoods are lined and decorated with the male gender of tree species, which is an interesting little tidbit. But back to this ginkgo tree, another interesting fact is it gives off an aroma. And that aroma has been linked to things like if you're at the fishmonger or you're at the beach, it gives an element of, let's say, a marine bog. So I find that interesting to know about this. Another thing is, I was mentioning how it has different growth patterns and habits based on its location. And it also tends to live longer in lower zones, so 5 through, I think, 3, if I'm not mistaken. These live a lot longer than they do with a higher zone count, so 5 down, and I think it goes down to 8 or 9. I will have to check. But they have a shorter lifespan in those grow zones. But the trade-off is they reach a full, wider canopy at maturity with the higher grow zones as they do in the lower grow zones. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, size versus age. As you can see, I'm standing in a bunch of shade, and that is because right where the camera is, there's this big, mature, black walnut tree. And as many of you gardeners know, these trees are wonderful for supplying food for the wildlife and shade and having clear area around its trunk for picnics and that kind of thing. And that's because the roots leach out this chemical that deters any competition to growing and taking nutrients away from it. There are very few plants that can overcome that obstacle. I have a variety of hostas around the ring of the tree that seem to be doing well. And I've also read through school extension research that ginkgo trees are supposed to be something that you can plant relatively close to a black walnut. Now, I would say I'm about 30 paces away from this tree, so it's not right up next to it, kind of close, but it is close enough that you have to be mindful of what the soil conditions are like near it. As you can remember from last week with planting the Newport plum, that is about 60 paces this way, and behind this we are creating an arborvitae hedge. So the idea is to have this privacy screen and winter interest year-round, and we're going to plant in front of it for our seasonal interest. Now, I am in a grow zone 5, and I'm expecting this tree to roughly reach about the same size and dimensions to the Newport plum. If things are very favorable in this particular location, I may actually see a 60% increase in that, and this may reach up to 40 feet. But with the shade of this black walnut and the overall part sun of this area, I'm not quite sure I would expect to see an outrageous growth spurt beyond what I'm expecting from the Newport plum. But who really knows? We'll probably be able to tell the success of this spot in 2 growing seasons. So a mature tree looks like this. I'm going to post another photo of what it looks like here. I'm not expecting this to be great for my pollinators because this is a female tree, but who knows, mislabeling happens and we'll see. I think that's enough jibber jabbering and yammering on, so let's get to work. All right, so let's talk what I did for a little bit. I traced out where I knew I wanted to plant my tree and I dug the hole. And again, I went down a little bit further than I normally do just because there is some grass and weeds in the area and I have super sandy soil. So by amending it with what was already naturally here at the bottom, that it's too deep to actually shoot up with anything, I figure why not? Let's use that to the benefit and using natural resources of what's already abundant around me. I filled the bottom of the hole with water. I don't know how much of the audio is being picked up, but the wheel of the year has turned recently. It is a windy, blustery day, bringing in some autumn weather, and with it, I think it is going to rain. So I wanted to make sure that the bottom of the area was saturated for the roots to dig into. And then, as you saw, I put down maybe about 2 layers of cardboard in some areas, which at this time of year, instead of working on moisture control, it's also helping insulate the ground. So I'm buying, not much time, but I'm maybe buying an extra day or 2 for things to establish once I have to start worrying about things like frost dates. So I just added my mulch and I made sure that the tree was as straight as possible, with it only being probably 2 or 3 years old at this point. Even if it's slightly askew, it's going to rebound in a natural direction. So that's it for this Plant Something Sunday. I look forward to continue sharing what I'm planting throughout this autumn season. Let me know what you're currently working with in your garden spaces. Remember to grow from where you're planted, and I'll share more with you soon. Tschüss!